Ed would like to know who you would most like to abandon on a desert island, and which single song would you leave them with? I don't know if you're going to reward them or punish them with the song choice.
You mean who would I like to be on a desert island
No,
with?
I think you've got to abandon them.
Oh, Boris Johnson, of
Yes,
course.
of course.
Without question.
And what song would you torment him with?
I wouldn't give him any songs. Just let him stew in his own juice.
Literally didn't want to hear those words on that subject. Rachel wants to know if you would consider going into politics. She'd love to see you in politics. And then could you, where would you begin, she asks, to sort out our current Westminster government?
Well, I've often thought about whether I should go into politics. I've decided not to, because there's such a shower up there. I just don't want to be part of it. I'm a member of the Labour Party, and they're in a mess. I know Jeremy Corbyn is not an anti-Semite, but he's a fool, and he lost us the election because he didn't come out against Brexit. If he'd come out against Brexit, we would have won, because anybody who had anything to do with Boris Johnson knows what a complete twat he is. He was a terrible Mayor of London, absolutely hopeless. And we can see how corrupt they all are. No, I don't think politics now. I don't. I'm too tired. I don't want to do politics. But there was a time when I could have, and I perhaps should have. I don't know.
We have an anonymous questioner. Out of all the characters you've played, which would you least like to be?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, because every character that I've played, I've loved being for the time that I was playing her. But I suppose the very last character I played on stage was in a play, a modern play called Sydney and the Old Girl. She'd never really had a name other than the Old Girl, and she was a hateful creature, horrible woman, horrible to her son, horrible to the world, nasty. I loved playing it.
We have a question from H. I have heard you on Louis Theroux, his podcast, and seen you on Graham Norton. Which was the most fun experience?
Well, I've been on Graham Norton's show a great many times, actually. And it is always fun, although it's scary beforehand, because you think... I mean, that's a time when you do feel scared, because you think, I've got to be amusing, I've got to be entertaining. And I never know what I'm going to say. And neither do they, actually. So I think probably Graham Norton is more fun to be on. It's scarier, but more fun. All Louis wanted to talk about was sex, and I was tired of that.
He's only human, Miriam.
Yeah, just a lovely fella. I mean, he's a nice man, but, you know, it just gets a bit tiresome. And I kept saying to him, let's go above the waist, shall we?
Who were your favourite and perhaps least favourite co-stars across your career? There are people who get some real praise and joy from you, and people that you've stayed in touch with for decades and decades, and there are people to whom you have given what I might generously describe as the world's shortest shrift. But I wondered who the absolute best and worst were.
I loathed Terry Scott. He was repellent in every way. Just a nasty piece of work. Horrible to women, a bully to those with less important roles, a groper, tiresome, nasty individual. And the one I like most, I suppose Eileen Atkins. I adore her. She's just classy, really classy.
You tell people, I think it's a really good book for actors or aspiring actors, quite aside from anything else. And your piece of advice for how to ace an audition is properly something which will change lives. So I'm not going to demand that you remember it on spec, just in case you wrote too many brilliant things. But you say that your talent gives you the right to be in the room, that you should never apologise when you go into an audition because your talent got you into the room. And I wondered if you could talk a bit about that. I found that I think women especially often forget that they're supposed to be in a room.
Yes, it's a very humiliating experience to go to an audition, because there you are, utterly defenceless up there on the stage, and there are they, the producers, the director, the people who do the choosing, and their whole point is either to accept or reject, and they enjoy the power that gives them. It's inevitable. And you are so defenceless and so sometimes so desperate for a job. It's a very humiliating situation, and I don't know particularly how you get over that, but I try to counsel people to say, believe in yourself when you go on stage, believe in the character that you're going to show them, and remember that you are doing it and they are merely watching.
We have time for maybe 2 more questions from the floor. Jill would like to know which other career, brackets, not politics, which is very clear, has ever appealed to you. Has one?
I'd like to be a probation officer. I like criminals. My great-grandfather was a criminal, and I feel that I could help criminals to go straight without losing their sense of self. And that's why I love violent crime films and books and plays. I love to see society being ripped apart, not by politicians, but by the criminal classes. I don't want to join the criminal classes, but I want to hobnob with them.
I mean, you did briefly join the criminal classes. You were arrested for misbehaving and then being mean to a police officer, and then kept in for being mean to all the other police officers. That did happen.
I think I may be the only person who had a vaginal examination for parking on a double yellow line. But if you want to know the full story, buy the book.
Polly, I think I can't beat your last question, so we will end on this. Polly says, will you write another book, please?
Well, I have been asked by my publishers to write another book, and they have said that they will pay me an equally huge amount of money to do so. It would be churlish to refuse.